Hello, and thank you for joining me today at Octen 2021. I wish we could be together in person, but the reality of 2021 is that we go virtual, so we'll take it as we go. My name is Lital Dotan, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Hunters. Hunters is the leading open XDR, meaning Extended Detection and Response platform. We're creating a connective tissue across the attack surface and implying automated security to better detect, respond, and help you remediate attacks as they come. We're in the Okta conference, so obviously, I'm not going to be the only one to talk to you about how important identity is for security and for controls. But I do want to emphasize that now, more than ever, attackers are increasingly using stolen credentials, phishing, and social engineering as the path of least resistance for them to get across your IT environment and get a foothold into it. The Verizon Data Breach Report is one of the best sources of information to get us insight into those trends. This is the most comprehensive breach analysis, which in 2020 covered more than 32,000 security incidents, out of which 4,000 were confirmed breaches, nearly double the number of breaches from previous year. Over 67% of the attacks that were seen last year were caused by either credential theft, social engineering attack, such as business email phishing or compromise. This is a steady increase in those methodologies that are being used, and they provide a critical role for security infrastructures such as Okta to play in order to prevent those attacks. It's also important to remember that identity do not only play a role when the attackers are trying to penetrate your network. It also plays a role throughout the attack kill chain as attackers use credentials when they're looking for privilege escalation and they use it for persistence. And that's why it is so important that we get a good sense of our identity management systems. But the role of identity management doesn't stop in prevention of attack. Identity management also offers a unique opportunity for us as defenders to spot an attack and stop it. A great example to the power of detection by identity came recently in December when FireEye, the security company, was the first to identify a persistent attack going through a breach to the SolarWinds solution. It occurred when the hackers, who already had employees' credentials that assumed to be gained through the backdoor that was inserted into SolarWinds, used those to register their own device to FireEye's multi-factor authentication system so they could receive the employee's unique access code and get persistent into their account. FireEye's security system sent an alert to the employee and to the company security team saying that a new device had just been registered to the company multi factor authentication system as if it belonged to the employee. The employee spotted this alert that came in and decided to notify security team that it was not him that added a new device. Obviously, thanks to his alert, the security team started investigating it. This prompted FireEye to get into a deep investigation of all their IT environment. It took them a few days. And at the end, when they find to determine how the hackers obtain the employees' credentials, they find out that the SolarWinds system, which is a legit software, was hacked and had a backdoor installed in it. This is a great example how MFA alerts can be served as a way to detect attacks. Kudos to the FireEye team. But let's be honest, not every organization is FireEye. Not everyone will be as vigilant as their employees, and not all organization will be able to effectively connect the dots the way that one of the best IR teams in the world did. But those attacks happen everywhere, and we do need to be able to spot them. To be able to spot malicious behaviors, organizations today need to have powerful way to sort through endless amount of data and sort out those that are malicious. Since identity represents human behavior, it is always unpredictable and chaotic. We never know if a remote access is legit or is somebody being compromised. So, when trying to take the use of identity and IMA data for detection and threats, we're dealing, unfortunately, with the hardship of finding a needle in a haystack. And like in this visual, we need a powerful magnet to be able to pick it up from the rest of the dust. Let's take, for example, a little bit of information of why it is so hard to spot malicious behavior um, just using logs of identity for detection and response. This is specifically a list taken from Okta blog suggesting the type of user and IMA events US security professionals want to monitor to see if there are suspicious behavior. The challenge of monitoring user data is the amount of data it produces. Each user throughout the course of the day can potentially produce hundreds, if not thousands, of different logged events, multiplied by the number of users in your organization, and the amount of data to sift through becomes quite daunting, if not even humanly impossible to walk through. In addition, examining user data for suspicious events requires some level of baselining to know what's normal activity and what it looks like. Well, normal activity is not easy to spot and it may change very often. For example, um, when we moved in the pandemic to work from home, all the baseline of our behaviors immediately changed overnight. And if you set some alerts to alert about specific work hours and locations, many of those changed as employees had lockdowns, did not go from home to the offices. This obviously creates a lot of challenge to know what a suspicious behavior, what versus what's the new norm that we're all experiencing. Because of its complexity, user activity by itself is not sufficient to determine whether an organization is under attack. It's very hard to define just using user data if something is benign or malicious. When taken, though, with context and used together with other indicators from other tools within your system, user activity can be an important piece of evidence pointing to an attack. Once any usual user or system activity is discovered, use that event as a starting point for a broader investigation, the way that FireEye did. Let's review one example of a simple, relatively common attack story and see how security teams can reveal it. In this case here, a targeted phishing attack was directed at the organization, and one employee clicked on a malicious link that was in the email. Something that can happen, unfortunately, to all of us, as those links are well crafted in a very nice email that seems usually legit. As a result, his credentials to the cloud were compromised by the attacker. The attacker immediately used the stolen creds to access the cloud service, took a disk snapshot of all the storage the company has in the cloud, generated a download link, and used it to exfiltrate data from the company's cloud storage. So, by itself, this is a severe incident of data exfiltration, but unfortunately, pretty hard to detect. Why is it hard? Let's have a look and see how this series of events taken by an attacker were captured by security tools in this company. For example, The Endpoint Detection and Response tool, EDR, identified a DNS query to a domain which had low reputation. This is the malicious link that was used to then steal the creds. But by itself, just going to a domain that has low reputation is something that every employee does every day. Alerting on it doesn't make any sense for the tool, and it did not pass the threshold of malicious detection. That's why this event was only logged at the EDR, but was not alerted to the security team. Another thing that was captured was the anomalous sign into the cloud from a new location that they haven't seen before. But again, just having somebody sign up to the cloud from a new location, it's not something that makes this cloud service alert security team on. The log was captured, and by that, that's it. It was on the system, and the attack continued. Only the disk snapshot link creation was suspicious enough to trigger an alert. But having said that, even this type of alert may have been ignored. The security team have a lot of alerts to go through. But let's say, in case they've seen it and they decided to go and investigate because it looked suspicious enough for them, a security analyst now will need to determine if this malicious activity or if this is a benign one. And to do that, they will need to go and manually look for um, other clues across the environment in other tools, find those logs in the EDR and in the public cloud that were indicators of this attack. A way to connect those dispersed logs that we've seen that indicate about the attack is using Okta. Identity is a great way to piece together these events, and Okta is a powerful tool that could help piece together those dispersed data points and telemetries. Users and the data are the main glue that can put together the pieces of the puzzle, as it's one user that his machine was compromised, his credentials were compromised, and he's the one that his credentials were used to get into the cloud and then get a snapshot and download, exfiltrate data. But the problem is that piecing identity data, if done manually, is hard, as identity related data is highly variable across the different security tools. Take, for example, in this case, how many different entities are related to the activities spotted, from network identifiers to EDR and public cloud telemetry. The variety calls for automation algorithms to help piece them together. Otherwise, a human being need to go and figure out how to piece together telemetry of network, of the cloud, of Okta, together with the EDR data. And when talking about the need for automation, this is exactly what hunters do. One of the automation algorithms that we developed is called Person Matcher. It's an algorithm that puts together different identities. And no, this has nothing to do with dating apps, even though it's about connecting different identities of persons. Hunters is looking to automate and streamline incident investigation. And for that, being able to connect entities related to a specific user is key. Using Okta, or in other cases, Microsoft Active Directory for other organizations that use that as their directory, Hunters stitches together usernames, emails, device used by the user, cloud accounts, and others to be able to link together activities that otherwise look disjointed. My colleague, Yahel, helped me prepare a demo of how this phishing attack that we just discussed will look when you look at the Hunter system. So let's look at the demo, and we'll be back afterwards to discuss how every team can use it for your benefit in detection and response. Take it, Yael.
Hi, Lital. So, let's take a look at how hunters correlate security telemetry and organizational data from sparse sources into single attack stories by using identity driven data in its automatic investigations. So, let's see. An employee which is associated with this agent ID browsed to this website. The domain was found to have a low reputation on CrowdStrike's raw events, but by itself, it is not noteworthy of an alert. A few minutes later, an Azure anomalous sign-in was detected, and soon after, a snapshot of a virtual machine was downloaded from the same account, which generated an activity log in Azure. Finally, a virtual machine extension script was used to execute a PowerShell script. Again, this generated an activity log. Now, all of these activities, considering they're happening from an existing Azure account, should not be suspicious. But let's take a closer look. Hunters performs automatic investigations and drills down on all the different threat signals. In these automatic investigations, hunters extract all the different entities associated with all the threat signals, both the noisy ones and the real alerts. So here we can see all the details associated with each of the signals that we have just mentioned. And here's where identity comes into play. Leveraging the information provided by Okta about specific users, the apps they use, and their host names, hunters can correlate signals from sparse sources using its person matcher mechanism that runs on top of its graph. This mechanism connects separate identities from the same user. In this case, it resolved that the agent ID from CrowdStrike, commonly used by the OS username Larry Miller, is associated to the person Larry Miller. On the other side, the Azure email identifier, this email that we see here, is also correlated to the same person, and so a connection is established. What this tells us is that most likely a malicious actor distributed a phishing link to employees and then used the stolen credentials from Larry Miller to log into Azure's portal, exfiltrate data, and gain persistence by abusing the Azure VM extension feature on different servers in the Azure environment. Now, if we want to further inspect all the information we have about this specific user, we can go to the entity search screen and get all the different threat signals, alerts, and entities associated with Larry Miller. Now, back to you, Lital.
As seen in the demo, hunters help organizations connect together in an automated way the different signals from the environment. Well, we discussed here detection based on identity. This is only part of the broader approach we take for detection and response. We ingest, normalize, and connect data from across the attack surface, cloud, endpoint, network, identity, and others. We do it directly through APIs, cloud connectors, and other seamless approaches. So no agent is needed, and basically the information is ingested in an out of the box way, no need for tough configuration. The data is stored in a cloud based data lake, offering a modern, agile, and cost effective alternative to a SIM. Out of the box security analytics, driven by expertise of the Hunters security team, is applied. And together with scoring and correlation methodologies, the SOC is served with remediation ready and prioritized attack stories, as you just seen in the demo. Everything is presented in a way that the team can access, further investigate, and move to playbooks and remediation using a SAW or any other capabilities they have in place. Let's dive a little bit to learn about the unique approach of Hunter's detection capabilities. So imagine that this is your attack surface and you are looking at it in a holistic way, not fragmented into specific silos of endpoint, network, identity, email, cloud, and so on, but rather one IT environment with all its dimensions. All the data from across your environment is being collected, as we just discussed, in a seamless way. And then it's normalized and ready for cross correlation. A multidimensional knowledge graph keeps native alerts from the specific point solutions that you have, from your EDR, your NDR, your cloud, connected together, as well as alerts that are identified uniquely by hunters based on TTPs that we built. We basically built playbook TTPs for hundreds of attacks that we've seen in the last few years, and this is constantly being updated by our security team. Custom detection that are built by your security team can be added ongoingly. And as this is a cloud native SaaS solution, you're benefiting from the community knowledge as well and rules written by the community. All the data is automatically enriched by IOCs and threat intel feeds that are contextualized and immediately automatically applied to your specific environment. Some seamlessly unrelated threat signals, like the one that we've seen in the example, the one that cannot be stitched together otherwise and do not have high fidelity enough to become seeing malicious unless they are related, are stored together with a context on a graph for further cross correlation and investigation. Organization contexts such as vulnerabilities in your environment, your crown jewels, your high value assets are used to score and prioritize those signals that may have a higher significant or higher risk and needs to be prioritized for you to look at. The scoring helps us understand what's the threshold and help us prioritize those attacks that you want to have a look at. Then multidimensional correlation links together these dispersed signals that we see across the environment. Together, they're forming a complete attack story, like the one we discussed in the previous demo. We will now go back to Yael to demonstrate how to connect data sources to Hunters and how to use Hunters platform if you are in a SOC. Back to you, Yael.
Hi again. So now let's take a closer look at how Hunter's portal looks like and how easy it is to connect data sources to Hunter's XDR. So when you log into the portal, you see the main dashboard. This is where you'll view all the connected data sources, the extracted threat signals from the raw data and security telemetry, and the attack stories that result after automatically contextualizing, analyzing, scoring, and correlating threat signals and alerts. So adding data sources in Hunters is fast and easy. There's no agents required. In the data flow section, where we're now, we can see all the different data sources from which Hunter's XDR can ingest raw data from. It is extremely easy thanks to Hunter's cloud connectors for different security products. So once you connect data sources, we'll automatically map MITRE attack techniques to Hunter's detections. And the cool thing is that the more security products you integrate into Hunters, the broader coverage you get across the attack framework. In the attack story section, where you see the actionable findings of attack narratives after Hunter's XDR has thoroughly investigated and correlated telemetry across the organization using its proprietary graph, as we've seen on the Larry Miller story. So with Hunters, you can attain better security with your existing data without any rule writing or pre-configuration. Simply connect your security products, your identity-driven data, and start getting insights from day one.
Well, thank you, Yael. To summarize, There are three unique benefits of using the Hunter system. First, and probably most importantly, we radically accelerate detection and response. We are the only tool that provides out of the box, no rules writing, no pre configuration detection across your entire attack surface. No matter what tools you have in your stack, we will integrate with them and use them to break all security silos and use this data for better detection and response. And moreover, our detections are prioritized and contextualized, enabling to streamline incident response into playbooks and workflow, whether you're using SOAR or doing manual response. No matter what, we help you move from data all the way to detection, response, remediation. A second important benefit is improvement on your investment in security tools. By connecting the security stack, we provide better return on your security investment. The tools are better used and are better configured once the data from them is being streamlined into cross automated cross correlation in the Hunters platform. In addition, a modern approach to security data storage, retention, unification, normalization offers an effective SIEM alternative, especially when you combine us with cloud based data lakes like Snowflake. And third, and most importantly, is the increased impact we are providing the SOC people in times where security talent is scarce and in times that security teams feel overwhelmed and overworked, like all of us, we offer a tool that delights the analyst and they actually love and praise working with hunters. We help them focus on what matters, removing the mundane rule writing and manual configuration and all the sifting through tons of data to investigate if an alert is real or if it's just a benign alert. We let them focus on real incidents and let them do what they need to do, which is go on, remediate, and increase the security of your organization. With that, I'd like to conclude. I hope that you enjoyed today's talk and you can see the value of using Okta, the powerful tool that you already have in place in order to elevate your security detection and response. We're here to help you, and we would love if you reach out to us. You can reach out directly to me, visit our website, or come to a virtual booth. Me and my colleagues will be there, and we'll be happy to chat about how we can help you better use Okta for security use cases and how we can potentially help ease up the burden that security teams feel these days. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again next year or maybe even sooner. And have a great rest of the day. Enjoy the conference.